Assist me at pledge allegiance. Flag, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Recognize WRN and the Salem News here this evening, and we'll go around the room with any questions and answers. Please give your name and your address and the reason for being here. Alan?
Alan Wolfgang, 103 East Pine Lake Road, just here to observe.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Chelsea Stiff.
Randy Stiff, here to get the results of what's going on from the prosecutor.
Okay, Mr. Kendrick, what do you have with that?
Randy, the owner of the property on the Columbiana County auditor's site says it's Craig Reedshaw. Do you have power of attorney or anything to talk for Mr. Reedshaw?
I have power of attorney.
Well, this matter here can only be talked to with Mr. Reedshaw or someone that has power of attorney with Mr. Reedshaw, since he is the owner of the property. And Mr. Reedshaw, we tried to give him notice. We sent him a certified letter and it was not picked up. And we also sent it to your address, 446 Pigeon Road, certified letter, and it was also not picked up. And then I also sent a letter there. It was delivered by express mail to your post office, to your mailbox. And we'll have to take this matter up with Mr. Reedshaw. The way it stands now, those cows need to be moved.
We'll take it to court then. That's where it's going to go, because there's another little interesting factor here that's brought here. Because the last meeting I asked you how that address got on that property, and your exact answer was, I don't know, that's what the engineers department told me.
That's right.
You requested the address
I
so you
did.
could send a notice. So how are you going to send a notice to a property that doesn't have a house, doesn't have a mailbox, and he didn't even send the notice to that property? So why would you request an address?
They did send it there.
So the address wasn't there on the pending of the sale. The address was there after the fact when you asked for the address to be
That's
put by the
correct.
engineers department.
I didn't deny
So
that.
the whole issue did.
That's not
you
what
said
you
you
said
had no
last week.
idea because that's what they told you. Do you want us to replay the video from last meeting?
I called
That's
down
not
to
what
the
you
No, that's not what you said, because you want. Do we need to replay the meeting? And here, your exact answer was,
exact words.
I don't know. That's what they told me.
They told me, I called the engineer's office. First I called the map office. They told me to call over to get an address. I'd have to call the engineer's office. The lady at the engineer's office, I told her what I needed and the reason I needed it.
That you needed the address.
And she said that she would get me an address for the property.
Right,
She
you needed
came
the
back.
address.
Pardon
The
me?
county didn't put the address on there. They refused the address. You had the address put on there, so that was the holdup before
I
with this.
can't make up an
Was an
address.
address.
No,
I
you
can't make up an
requested an
address.
Exactly.
address to be
I
sent.
requested an address. I
Thank
can't
you.
make
Exactly.
it up.
So the
Because
whole
that's
ordeal
not
with that
last
being
week.
the whole factor of this is because it has an address that wasn't there before. The address wasn't there even after the sale. The address was there because you had it put on.
Because I requested one.
After the sale,
Because I had to mail out a certified letter to
That's not
Mr.
what
Craig
was said last
Reedshaw.
meeting.
that's not what you said, but it doesn't matter. The whole holdup here before was because it has a new address now. The only reason it has an address is because you asked for one.
Well,
That has nothing to do with the property itself and the way it was, the status quo of what it was before the sale and after the sale. After the sale, that property still had no address. So it was how many, a month, 2 months after the sale that you had the address put on it, so now suddenly everything's got to change because you requested an address instead of trying to request the address that you needed to get a hold of him? Because you
I
could have
didn't know
called...
how to get a hold of him.
Really?
You didn't ask
You can't call the realtor
Well,
who sold the property? You
Mr.
can't call somebody else that would have a contact for him? You just
You
create
wouldn't even-
addresses?
You wouldn't even call me back
I called and talked to you on the phone twice.
once.
No, twice.
whatever.
When you had Perry Township deliver a letter for you to my house to get a hold of me? That was your first step was,
That's
as
right.
I drive by, I have a police officer in my driveway. Since when is that Perry Township Police Department's job to contact people on your behalf?
Oh, it's, all happens all the time. Happens all the time,
So
sir.
why didn't you have them deliver the letter?
Huh?
Why didn't you have them deliver the letter?
Because I'd had to do it certified mail is our first range. If that doesn't work, then we send a proof of mail. And if that doesn't work, then sometimes we'll have the police department take it out.
So you didn't take every action that you could to get a letter delivered before you created an address, did
It
you?
was delivered to your house.
You did not take every action you needed to deliver the letter before you had an address put on the property, and not even the property owner's request, but your request. How can you request an address on a property when it doesn't even belong to you? How is that even
I
possible?
told them what I needed.
You requested
They-
the address to deliver a notice.
That's right.
Yes, how can you request an address on a property?
Why can't I?
And why would you request an address on
Why
a property when there's no home, there's no mailbox to deliver anything to with an address? And then you sent the letter to 456. So what was the point of creating the address? Because that was the whole holdup with this property was that now all of a sudden now it's changed because now there's a different address on it.
It is a Depot Road address. All I needed was a house
The
number.
deed says 456 West Pigeon Road Extension, not a Depot Road, and the Depot Road come about because of you. So everything that was status quo before, you had an address put on there,
doesn't-
should remain that.
It doesn't face over on,
It doesn't
Pigeon
face
Road.
Depot either.
all the
Most of
houses,
those houses up there face
all
Depot.
those
They got
houses,
Depot
all those
address.
houses over there, they all have a Depot Road address. Reeds, Wookatich, and whoever else is the ones there.
They don't, you just said it doesn't face West Pigeon Road. It doesn't face Depot Road. It was a West Pigeon Road extension
Well, all those.
until you had an address put on it.
Right there where you are.
It was a
are
West
all
Pigeon Road
Depot
extension until
For Mr. Reed.
you had an address put on the property.
I'm not
You had the
denying that.
address put on
I
there.
requested an address. I said, can you give me an address for this property?
Okay,
And
so
she said she would give me an
Before the
address.
address was created, the status of what the property was at that time, why would it change because you had an address put on it? You said last meeting, the whole reason because that one thing was granted and the other thing wasn't is because now this has a new address. It didn't have an address after the sale. The sale was final and done for how long before that address got put on there? Month? 2 months?
What does the deed say?
456 West Pigeon Road Extension. It's what the property, where that property is that's what it is. Upon, then same thing the engineering department said, upon a house being built, that property would then be addressed at 1799 Depot Road. There's no house, there's not even a driveway for a mailbox to be set.
Well, that's not my fault for getting an address. I just requested an address.
For what? You didn't send
I
the
did.
notice to that address, you sent it to
Yes, I did.
456. Joe, did you get the letter?
I did
For
not-
Craig?
I didn't get anything. His mail gets forwarded away because he don't live there.
Okay, so you're the old, Craig Leachoff doesn't live at 456. He owns the property at
I know he didn't live there.
1799
That's
Depot
why I
Road,
sent
that's
it
now
out.
that address. So you would send him notice to an address that has no house, no mailbox, and you were there and you knew that, so why would you create the address?
I
Why?
didn't create the address, sir.
You requested it to be
I
created.
requested an address.
When the engineering department denied the address,
They did not
until
deny
a
me
house
the address.
was
They
built.
gave me an address.
they gave you one.
That's
When it was requested by the person that divided the property, they denied him because they said, we will not give an address for that
No, they
property
did not tell
until
me
there's a
that.
house being built on
Why
that
didn't they
property.
tell me that?
Because you called to request an address.
This
That's
is
what I did. I just requested one.
But
That's all I
last time
did.
we were
I
here,
didn't demand one. I
you had
requested
no
an address.
idea.
You requested one. For what
They should have
purpose?
told me, I cannot give you an address because there isn't a house on it.
But regardless, before that address was put on there, this property was already set the way it was. But now you're saying all of a sudden because now there's a new address, which
Well,
is
it's a-
because of
it's
your
a new-
request,
It's a new parcel number.
doesn't matter. You said exact last meeting was it has a new
And I
address.
also said at the
Address.
last meeting,
That
it's a
you
new
had
parcel
no
number.
clue. We watched it back and you go, I have no idea where the address came from. I have no clue. I have nothing to do with.
That's
It's
what they
on the
told me.
thing. That's what
Watch
you
the-
said.
Watch the
And
notes
now
from the
this
last
time,
meeting.
it's all, yeah,
Flipped
it was
around.
me.
Like you said, a property remains status quo the way it was before it's sold to when it's after it's sold. Because you request an address, that now it should change? Is Alchemy Acres gonna get rid of their animals because it's all zoned residential? What you said, Depot Road, West Vision Road. How about the people down,
That's,
Wait a minute.
That's own business up there.
That's not
that's not agricultural. How about the people down from the nursing home that have chickens? Hell, they have a big brown sign that says eggs for sale. They sell honey. They grow corn. They have ducks. They have chickens. They have everything else. Let's go up to Pigeon Road. There's people with chickens and everything else up through there. But you're going to say one person that's not right, but it is for everybody else?
There's
Because you
conflict of
requested an
interest.
address? That's a hell of a conflict of interest. You can't, let's just put it in layman's terms, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If it ain't good for one, it ain't good for
I haven't
any.
had any complaints about other people having things. The only complaint I've had.
The complaint is because there's a piece of property when it was surveyed that he doesn't own what he thought he owned, so he's pissed off. The cows have been there for 15 years, so anything in there
The
has
cows
changed,
just
so they're not
moved.
walking
No,
through
they
there.
didn't.
No, they didn't.
We
Wait a
just
minute.
cleaned up that
Wait a
area.
minute.
They did not
That
just
gate
move.
was just put up there this summer
It was
from what I
not.
was told.
The
It
gate
was
was put in,
We
the
have
cows were in
pictures.
They
there.
were over on the other side.
They weren't. They
Is that
weren't.
correct?
Joe,
They're the same place.
thank you.
We
How do
cleaned
you
up the
know? You
area.
didn't know about it before this. But now you're gonna tell me it's different?
We cleaned up that area back there where rights were. We went in, chopped a bunch of trees down, so now the neighbor can actually see them because we cleaned up all the trash and garbage and weeds that were all grown up. We cleaned up the property, so now they're visible. They've been there forever.
They've been there forever. The only thing different is, there's
All I
a
know
gate
is
put
by
there.
hearsay. All I know
Really?
is by
Did
hearsay.
you go back and look at the fence?
The only reason that we
I
went
can't-
out
I
there
can't go back
to
on
do
the
that is
property.
we got a complaint.
You were there.
We know who
I
the...
walked up to
We got a
the,
complaint.
I walked up to the
Where?
gate, Craig Reed Shaw's gate. That's
Yeah,
all I
you-
did.
But you just said you can't go on the property.
I walked up to the gate.
That's the
That's
problem.
still the property. You just said you couldn't go on there.
Harry?
I did talk to Craig Reedshaw, who, as we all know by now, lives in Thailand. I asked him about the cows. He said, when I sold the property, the cows were down on that section. The other section that I sold to Joe and his wife had deer on them, okay? But he said those cows have been there at least 20 years, closer to 30. In that, because I specifically asked him the question, were they on that part? And he said, absolutely they were. And I know he used to have elk back in
What
there.
kept them in there?
The
The
fence.
fence was just put up this
That
summer.
fence
The
was
fence
on.
was just put up
The
this
fence,
summer.
the fence was
is down.
redone to separate the 2 acres from the 7 acres.
The
Originally,
fence was just put up.
No, it
correct?
wasn't.
No?
no, the fence to separate it out on the boundaries of the 2 new parcels, which there are 2 new parcels. One is 2 acres, one is 2 point whatever, the other's, what, 6.9?
What was put up just this summer?
Just the gate.
or
A
spring?
gate so
The
we
gate,
can
and then he
access it.
redid some of the fencing
There was a
on,
fence there before?
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, I never even knew there was houses back there.
Sure.
And there is an outbuilding on there for shelter for these?
You wanna come? I'll show it to you.
I'm
I'll
just
walk you back
asking
to
if
it.
there is.
You
Yeah.
could see it if you walked up to the gate and looked up. You
I'll
could see
take you
it.
back and show it
In
to
our
you.
zoning book, it has, outbuildings shall not be used for the housing of wild game, exotic animals, or any animals that may give off obnoxious, prudent odors that may pervade the area, that may pose a health or safety risk to residents living on adjacent property.
So how about all 4 of you come on over tomorrow evening, and we'll see
Yeah,
the
it's
pungent
zero,
odor.
it's 30 degrees out.
I think 30 degrees out. And it's good, you're contradicting everything you said. This isn't a dairy farm where there's an open shit pit and there's 100 cows there and they're all congested in a building.
I was there this summer and it stunk.
You live by a farm that has 50 cows in the barn. How many houses up from you? On South Lincoln Avenue.
I don't live on South Lincoln Avenue.
Where do you live?
Huh? North Lincoln Avenue.
There's cows in town.
Not by me.
They're right out here on South Lincoln.
They aren't by me.
Yeah. Yeah, North Lincoln, sorry.
They've been there though and to cut a few bushes down does not open that up to,
The only reason we got into this is we got a complaint about it.
because
That's where it
the
all started.
land was surveyed and
Yes.
all the property he thought he owned, he didn't own.
There's already the argument about that.
Well,
As soon as it was surveyed.
That's a civil matter. That has nothing to do with the township.
No, that's what started all this. Because he don't get to mow the grass
That's not
and he
the
thought he got to
township's
mow
problem.
before.
It's not the
The
township.
township problem is the property pins that are in his asphalt and encroaching the property lines for the garage that was built there. That's not the township's?
No. That's a
Really?
civil matter.
No, this isn't,
How is it?
this is more of a
It's a civil
conflict of
matter.
interest because it was a friend of yours and
It's
he's,
not a friend of mine.
but he's told us
Not a
that
friend of
he,
mine.
okay. Because all of a sudden, this is a problem after how many years?
There's less
Well,
cows there.
from what I
It all came
understand,
to us by
the
a
cows,
complaint.
the cows were never
That's
fed
where it started.
where they're being fed now.
Yes,
And
they
all
were.
the cows
Yes, they were.
hang out right there, and
They
the
don't.
manure and everything else is just stinking up the area.
But
Really?
it's
Come
not.
over and show me how it stinks up. You can't even see a pile of cow manure after it rains. They're gone. There's not enough cows in there to stink.
Ma'am?
Hi, I'm Kim Vanderkar. I have a question. First of all, we have Craig Redshaw. Harry has his address. I think for due diligence, you should send it to his address that we know he
That'd be
lives at. And he did apply for an address. They declined him until he was ready to build on that property. And then they said you requested one specifically. That's
All I
what-
did was call the engineers or the mapping office first
My
and asked if
concern
they
is-
had an address.
My concern is.
They told me-
if one of the neighbors here, adjoining property, Joe's property, what if someone moves in down the block and they have a complaint with Joe's property with the deer there? Is it gonna become a-
Grandfathered in. He has more than 5 acres.
Are you willing to
What
put
does that
that
have to do with
into, are you willing to put that in writing that he is grandfathered in and his farm animals will always be allowed to be there?
What does more than 5 acres have to do with anything?
No. I'll let him answer mine
Ohio
first, wait.
revised code.
Hmm?
Ohio revised code.
So are you willing to put that in writing that for the 7 acres that he is okay with farm animals and they're grandfathered in as long as he keeps animals on that property?
I'd have to meet with the other 2 trustees. I'm just one single voice.
Right, would you do that, look into that for us?
We'll have a meeting. We're going in executive session after this
All
meeting.
right, thank you.
Okay. Harry?
I just had a question on, on the letters, Don, those were sent to the Depot Road address even though there was nobody there?
It was sent to what the engineer's office gave me was 1799
I think I'm off.
Depot Road.
But you,
I sent a certified letter there, which I knew would come back because there's not even a mailbox there.
right,
It was just a formality, which my legal counsel told me to do. And they also told me to send one to wherever the tax information goes to, which was taxpayer's address on here is Randy Step,
yeah.
446 West Pigeon Road. And I also sent one there. That's what my legal counsel told me to do.
I know you're not permitted to talk with anybody here since nobody's power of attorney for Craig Redshaw. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Are you permitted to say what the prosecutor has said to this point? I mean, you said no cows. Is that a prosecutor opinion?
It's an R1 zoning there.
I think the reason we're all back on is to find out what has happened in the last month as far as, the past 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it's been, to find out what the prosecutor had to say. Do we have an opinion from the
I don't
prosecutor?
have a definite opinion yet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Sir?
Tracy Cooper, 1152 Hampton Place. Wondering why I haven't received my letter on the culvert pipe yet.
I don't know.
Haven't gotten it back from the prosecutor's office as approved. So as soon as I do, it'll come out to you.
Is it registered or is it coming?
It'll come to you certified.
Okay.
You have to sign for it, or your wife have to sign for it. If you guys aren't there, they'll try 3 times, and then you have to go to the post office to get it.
Okay.
And I'm required to send it to you that way.
Okay, that's fine.
Ma'am?
I'm just with my husband. He's with me.
Sir?
Yep, he's with me.
Okay. Chief?
No, I got nothing.
Back. Ma'am?
Hi, I'm Trina Hively. We bought the Reedshaw Farm, and we're just concerned about the status of it.
Okay.
I'm Joe Hively, Reachos.
Okay, thank you. Under new business, we received
One quick question, sorry to interrupt. Don, do you need Craig Reedshaw's address?
Yeah, I
and
thought the
title it?
lady there was gonna give it to me.
I'm the one who has it,
Oh,
so
okay.
I'll get it to you.
All right.
Okay.
You can either mail it to 1812 North Lincoln or,
Yeah, I'll get it to you.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We received the reports from the police and the fire, and approved by the trustees, and the zoning report, Mr. Kendrick.
6 permits have been issued for the month of October, and none so far in November.
Okay. Need a motion to go into executive session after the meeting.
So move.
Second.
Okay.
For what reason?
Personnel matters. Trustee Rudabaugh?
Yes.
Trustee Mix?
Yes.
Trustee Kendrick?
Yes.
Is there any other new business to discuss? Under old business, leaf pickup continues for the next 2 weeks on the south side of the township. State Street being the dividing line. Leaf must be bagged and mounted curbside, able to be lifted into truck by one person. Twigs must be bundled separately and will be picked up separately. No other trash will be included in the bags, and the Home Depot bags will be picked up separately from the other bags. Additional bags can be picked up. I believe they're all gone here now, so they'll have to go to City Hall, Council Chambers to pick them up. As far as the building status goes, Mr. Kendrick got a hold of Mr. Miller today, and we're supposed to get the electric done.
He's supposed to call me in the morning. He's wondering, look, no one's been at the building for 3 weeks now, and the only thing that needs to be done is the electric on the building. And he promised us he would have it done by November 1st, and 2 more weeks has gone by, and I talked to him tonight, and he said he is going to the electrician's house tonight and find out why he hasn't been there. He's supposed to call me in the morning.
Any other old business to discuss? Approval of the minutes of the financial statements of 10/24/16.
So move.
Second.
Fiscal officers' announcements.
You're signing checks and ACHs for $47,925.91. I need to know number for reservations for the Township Association Christmas party.
Okay.
2. 2. Mr. Kendrick?
0.
Grassroots are in your packets, and I would like to do the payment that we do annually to the fire department at the next meeting, so I need you guys to be looking into that so we can get that one done. That's it.
Thank you. Trustee comments, Mr. Rudabaugh?
I have none.
Mr. Kendrick?
Just one thing on the leaf pickup. The leaf bags, we'd prefer to have the leaf bags put into the paper-free bags from Home Depot. They can just throw those into the truck, and they don't have to tear them open or anything. If they put them in the plastic bags, the men have to individually cut each bag open and then throw the plastic bags away. And the bags must be able to be picked up by one person. People have been putting them in large plastic bags, and then the men can't lift them up onto the truck. So if they can't get them up onto the truck and you wonder why the people haven't picked up your bags, it's because they couldn't pick up the bags by one person. They do have to lift them up high, throw them up into a truck.
Okay, I have no other comment.
I have one more thing.
Susan?
I did receive an indigent burial today. The person lived on Egypt Road. It's Dean's Funeral Service out of Alliance. I did check the address. He's not listed on the deed, but the address he gave me is in the township, so we're going to have an extra expense for an indigent burial. It's the second one we've had this year.
What is that usually?
Up to $1,000.
Okay.
That's it.
Nothing more to come before this meeting. We'll go into executive session. Thank you.
Do you expect any action?
No. there is, we'll call you.
Come back out again.